everybody. We're back with another Beatles album review, and this is kind of a bittersweet one because we're down to the last one.
Last one.
That's crazy. The long and winding road has come to an end,
Yeah.
but that's all right. It's because it's time to let it be. We got Ryan, Nick, Jason, and Scott joining me once again. How you all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing amazing. Knicks 3-1 against the Celtics, and the Mets just won.
Good. Good.
Enjoying my final hours as a 27-year-old. Tomorrow I wake up 28.
Wow. Oh, I think the Beatles have a song about that.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah, go back to the White Album on that one, the birthday.
Ryan will listen to it tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
A few times, yes.
All right, so we're talking about the final Beatles album, which is quite crazy because I remember when we started this series and we were all excited talking about the Beatles, and we're on the last album. Jason, do you have any background information?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because this is the last album to come out in 1970, but they actually were recording this album in 69 before they even recorded the Abbey Road album that then came out before this album. So I talked a little bit about that when I talked about Abbey Road because they're both kind of interconnected in that way. That get to this album, the whole idea is this grand idea that I think Paul mostly had was that they were going to rehearse these new songs together, write and rehearse these songs, and they're going to have a documentary crew document them doing this. And I think they gave themselves, I forget, like 2 weeks, something like that. At least, I should say this has been well documented in the Let It Be documentary that's on Disney Plus, and the Get Back sessions that are also on Disney Plus, which is like, I don't know, maybe 10 hours of footage, something like that. So it's pretty well documented, everything that was going on while trying to make this album. And the Get Back sessions, whatever, that documentary does a real good job of documenting, like, time-wise what happened, and they show a calendar and stuff like that. And I'm trying to remember, I feel like they gave themselves only like 2 weeks or something like that, maybe to rehearse these songs, and then the idea is at the end they're going to do a concert or something like that, these new songs that they came up with, but nothing went to plan at all. They did it in the studio, I think Twickenham Studios, which is not the studio they normally worked in, and it's a bigger studio, so they have more room, I guess, for the maybe documentary crew and all this. And it was just weird. They seemed very small in this big studio, whatever. And it was, I think, cold and drafty as well. And so a lot of complaints, a lot of tension, especially between, seemed like George and Paul is kind of famous for George and Paul kind of, arguing. And then George quits the Beatles. Really, really just like, I'm out, can't do this anymore. And they considered like, okay, do we go on without George? Do we try to get Eric Clapton to join in and finish the album with us? But they eventually went and talked to George and got him to come back, but they had to make some changes. The whole timeline had to be totally changed. They were not going to be. It's to be honest, it was impossible probably to pull this off. to even the Beatles, as great as the Beatles are, to be able to write and rehearse all these songs and get together for a concert, an album, whatever. It was a hard task, and of course, at this time period, they were kind of falling apart. Anyways, it was just a really bad idea. But then they moved from Twickenham back to the EMI studios, where they're more used to recording together. And they changed the timeline. It was going to take a bit longer to get this all done, and they weren't. And there's a lot of questions about what do we do about the concert thing. They wanted like this big grand concert, They had a lot of grand ideas behind it, and then they eventually were like, "Why don't we do it on the rooftop?" And so came the famous rooftop concert, which we can say is like the last official like kind of concert the Beatles appeared in together and played together, because they would never do it again after this. But yeah, so yeah, very interesting. Oh, so they record this album, Let Be. They do the rooftop concert. The documentary comes out as well in 1970. I believe wins an Oscar for score or something. I can't remember. They won some kind of, maybe for a documentary. They won the Oscar. I can't remember. But they recorded it and then they gave it to, now I'm forgetting. Last time I had if it was Jeff Emmerich maybe, or was it somebody they gave it to, and they the engineer, and they
Glenn Johns.
Glenn Johns, that's it. Glenn Johns was going to, or he did. He took the music and mixed it, or whatever, and did all that stuff. And they didn't like what he did, and so strangely enough, and Glenn Johns is a really good engineer or whatever. So weirdly enough, I don't know, they didn't like it. They kind of axed him, and then they brought in very famous one. I'm forgetting that.
They eventually got Phil Spector.
Spector, that's it, Phil Spector. So then they got Phil Spector, who's known for this wall sound and bringing a lot of different, stuff. And of course, he brought in orchestra and some music. He brought in sound effects. I think he brought in a lot of stuff on Across the Universe. He brought some noise and stuff on that. I know he did a lot with the mixing, anyways. But while they were given to Phil Spector to take and to make, they then went back, and I talked about this, of course, last time. When they went back and did Abbey Road, they went back and did another album with then George Martin, who they didn't have. This is like the only album they didn't have George Martin for, which was crazy because, he was kind of, did all their albums. He was known, they worked so well together. It's kind of crazy. They went with someone else, but, George Martin was a little hurt by it, but then they got back together, made Abbey Road, their last album, of course, that we know. And that came out, and of course, was a classic and all that. Yeah, and then this was set to come out in 1970. But by the time this was coming out, they had broken up, I think, at this point, and already were starting on their solo album. So the whole timeline is just so crazy that this finally came out as their officially last album.
After some of them had already released solo albums too.
Yeah, I think Ringo,
I
Paul.
guess Criminal Journey, has already come out at this point, I guess. All right, so what are everybody's brief thoughts on Let It Be before we go track by track?
So, I had heard of some of these songs off of this album before, just randomly. I'll get in a mood and I'll just pop on Let It Be, and I'll just be like, okay, yeah, this is just still so good. And this album, minus one song, which I hinted at before we started all of this, I have next to no complaints with this album whatsoever. There's this one song, and we'll get to it, where I'm like, why did they do this? And then another issue I have is one that was ultimately not released, but I have a gripe with that, of why this one got the axe, but this one did. But we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree about that.
Yeah, I know the song.
I don't know if this is my favorite album of the Beatles that I've ever listened to, but I think just because it's got 3 of my favorite songs of all time, period, on it, well, 2 and 1 unreleased, it's certainly top 5 for me.
Okay. My thoughts on the album, the Beatles were on a 4-album streak of 10 out 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 of 10. Yes, I gave Yellow Submarine a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I know. But let's move on from that.
Controversially.
I don't think this is as good as those 4 albums. I really don't think so. There's a couple of songs where I really do not like it. But if you ask me about like what's my thoughts on the production on the album, I'm on Team Phil Spector, guys. I and anyone who glazes Paul McCartney like he's LeBron James and goes, "Oh, the naked version's better," that's glaze. Like he's not gonna let you hit, bro. Like the Phil Spector version's much better. Like it feels fuller. The naked version just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel complete. This version, it feels like a Beatle album, and even though Phil Spector never did any production work with them before then, but yeah, great production. But
I guess you can say the naked version of Let It Be was Let It Be, McCartney's version.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Well, Let It Be should have kept its clothes on.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it. But it's a really good album, but definitely not one of my favorites personally.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. Yeah, Paul McCartney was not happy with what Phil Spector did with his songs, especially, well, the Long and Winding Road's the big one that everybody talks about, all the stuff he added to that. And I think just that Paul didn't know that he was going to do it, and then when he did it, he was like, wait a minute, like, I was not expecting this, I guess. And evidently this is like a grudge he had for a long time, and then they came out to Let It Be Naked, that Paul kind of endorsed and took out all of that orchestra music, I think, and also added one song took out, I think, at least two of the songs out of the album, and then added one that wasn't on the album. So it's an
5 steps back, 1 step forward.
And they changed the order of the songs, I believe, as well. So it's an interesting idea. I agree. I like this version better. I love the orchestra music that is thrown in, that Phil Spector throws in, and all that. I think sounds great. It's an interesting album that we have. Like they do make it sound like a live album or something. Like we have John saying different things in between songs that you don't get on the Let It Be Naked version, but on the regular version you get all these cool little quips as you see Scott's name there as one of them at the end of the album. And then you have two jam songs that really have no meaning. It's just like they just were jamming, and like it's like they hit the record button as they were jamming a song. It really probably shouldn't be anywhere on there, but yeah, it gives it kind of this live feel almost, I guess. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting, the whole idea behind it, and I love it. It's one of my favorite albums. I agree. It's got two songs are some of my favorite songs of all time. Two songs are in my top 10 favorite Beatles songs. So, I mean, man, when you got those two songs on an album, how could it not be one of the great albums, in my opinion? But
I wonder if Paul cut out the 5-minute monologue of Phil Spector going, "The band worked so hard to create this for you."
Hey, Phil Spector here.
On behalf of the band and myself, who I have not seen the band at all, even though that I've produced this album, and a very special thank you to Mr. George Martin, who I had to undo every one of his production notes.
Paul heard this and be like, bloody hell.
Well, I like this album specifically because it's them trying to go back to more of their earlier sound. If you look at the last stuff they've been releasing, Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, Revolver, the White Album, you can't play none of this stuff live. Well, I guess you can now, but back in the 60s, it had been really difficult to play that stuff live with all the sound effects and stuff and studio experimentation. So their goal with this album was to make songs that would work well in a live environment that was kind of more like their old sound, which the original name of this album was Get Back. That was the whole point, is they wanted to get back to their old sound. Of course, they switched it to Let It Be whenever the movie came out. They switched the title to Let It Be. Mm-hmm. But what I like about this album is it's really the feeling of being in the studio with the Beatles. That's really what it is. And it says right here on the back of the album, this is a new phase Beatles album. Essential to the contents of the film Let It Be was that they perform live for many of the tracks. In comes the warmth and the freshness of a live performance as reproduced for disc by Mr. Phil Spector. So the whole point is that it's supposed to sound like you're in the studio with the Beatles. That's why you get studio chatter of like, "Oh, I Dig a Pygmy" by Charles Hawtrey and the Deaf Ace. Like, that's what they like to do. If you've seen the movie Let It Be, that's what they do. Like, in between songs, they like to joke around and say funny stuff just to get in the mood. And you can hear that on the album. Another thing I really like about this album is that a lot of the tracks are taken from the Rooftop concert, which I have playing behind me. I think that if nobody has seen the movie Let It Be, definitely check it out. It used to be really difficult to find, but now it's on Disney Plus, so definitely check that out. But it really helps you to put into picture what they were doing to make this album, and honestly how difficult the sessions were, especially the beginning, the first half when they're in the Twickenham studio. It's like Paul is very happy because it's just kind of the person he is, and he's just like, "Come on, we're gonna make some music and we're gonna do that." And he's like jamming with Ringo. Ringo was just like, "Yeah, fine, I'll do whatever." George seems very salty, and him and Paul argue a lot, and then John is just not there. He's either with Yoko or he's strung out on drugs, and he gets better whenever they get to the Apple studio. He seems more engaging, and him and Paul have some funny moments, but he's not there in the Twickenham. You can tell he's on drugs at that moment. This band is on the verge of breaking up. It's the greatest band of all time, in my opinion, but you can tell that they're on the verge of breaking up. And thankfully, with all the turmoil, they were able to make one more fantastic album before they said their farewells and embarked on their solo projects, because really what's going on is they all have different ideas, and I think it was best for them to be able to spread out and do their own thing. I really wish they'd have gotten back together, at least for like a reunion or something, but that's just my gripe.
All right, Let It Be. This was a fascinating album to listen to. I know people have that debate on what's the true final Beatles album. I know some argue that Let It Be is, and some say, "Oh, Abbey Road was always supposed to be the last album." I think how I would argue, like my take on it is, Abbey Road is a great swan song, but Let It Be serves as the epilogue to the end. And I think if you look at it that way, it's a great album in its own right. I think this album is a bit of a step down from Abbey Road. Abbey Road was like the culmination of everything the Beatles worked up to. But there's still some really good songs on this album. There's a couple of like, why are they even on the album? But I do think these songs are produced very well. I love the Phil Spector flavor on some of these songs. I'm a sucker for his Wall of Sound style. So yeah, I think this is another really good Beatles album. It's just not on par with like Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper. All right, so let's go into the track listing. The first song on the album is Two of Us.
So when this song started and I heard the chatter going on, I'm like, this is cool and all, but I do not remember this song at all. And then they did the Two of Us on the Road. And I'm like, I know I've heard this song before. I can't remember where, but I know I've heard this song. It's fantastic. It's just really nice sounding, like the harmonizing, and like Scott was talking about, they were very like, and you watched the Let It Be documentary, which Jacob Martin and we have reviewed on my channel many months ago, is that they just didn't care for each other. But I mean, when the rubber met the road, they were able to keep it together, at least for the time being. And so just the harmonies in this song are just exquisite, for lack of a better word. So yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I certainly agree. This is a really good album album opener. It's like kind of has like a homey feel to it, like kind of like a road trip movie scene, like in the background, like Shrek and Donkey, like or something like that. Two of us, ba-na-na-na, on our way home.
Dun, 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 dun.
Take Note Shrek, but really nice song. It's not flashy. It's not like, it's not like technically amazing, but it's such a nice harmony song, and it's one of those songs where it's like ironic because like they hate each other at this point, but they still sound like they love each other still. Be a really good opening track, and I do like the "I Did Be Pick Me" by Charles Hortree on the Defade.
Chapter.
It's like something where Doris gets her oats.
Doris.
One in which Doris gets her oats.
Gets her oats.
I think I was writing the song.
Yeah, good album opener.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest. Like, I don't want to say deep cuts, I don't feel like it's a big hit for them, but I think anybody as a Beatles fan would say, yeah, this is one of their great songs. That probably doesn't get enough love, outside the people that are fans. And yeah, amazing opener to this album. And it's such cool because it's really Paul wrote this song about him and Linda. He was like driving, they were driving together out, in the country or something, and they stopped and he was sitting in the car and he wrote this song, about him and Linda as they're just kind of, hanging out together. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. But yet when I listen to it, of course, I think of Paul and John when I hear the song, and I think about how like poetic the song is, because this is the very last album, and you got Paul and John, singing, so good together. Their voices have always been so amazing together, and it's just them playing their acoustic guitars and singing. I mean, George isn't really singing in here, it just feels like it's just them two, and it feels like the Beatles started with these two. I mean, the Beatles are John and Paul, to me, and that. Paul was like 15 and John was like 17 when they met, for that first time. And then Paul joined the Quarrymen band. And then from then on, we eventually get to the Beatles. So they've been together for, now they're, getting to their late 20s, probably getting to 30 or something like that. So they've been a partnership for a long time. And this is kind of the grand, finale or something, these two of the greatest singer-songwriters of all time. I mean, their music is in museums. I mean, amongst some of the greatest writers of all time. That's how, you don't usually put a pop band, music lyrics in a museum. But the Beatles, Paul, Lennon, McCartney, that partnership is the greatest partnership, like in rock music, I think, many people would say. And I don't know. So something about hearing the song, it's going, oh my gosh, John and Paul doing it one more time, it's really beautiful.
I think this is like the perfect way to start this album out. Sorry, I'm winding my tape there. It ended. But I think this is really the perfect way to start this album, especially with that funny studio chatter at the beginning. I don't know if anyone else, when they watched the Let It Be movie, was like looking for those parts in the movie where it's like, I'm waiting for them to say this specific line because I've heard the album so many times, and it's like, when are they going to say this? Because I know they say this somewhere within this movie. And that was one of the parts whenever they said, "I Dig a Pygmy" by Charles Hawtrey and the Deaf Aids. I'm like, that's it. That's what they say at the beginning of the Let It Be. It's like, oh, he said the thing, But I love the harmonies on here. I like the more laid back feel. I like the bass, the boom, 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 boom. I think Nick said it feels like a road trip song, and I really agree with that. It really sounds like if John and Paul were to take a road trip and we're just like touring the English countryside, I feel like this is what would have been playing in the background. But yeah, I really like this song, and it's definitely a great way to start the album off.
Yeah, this is a great way to open up this album. I mean, it's hard when you have, previous albums where you open with like Come Together and A Hard Day's Night, and you got the Sgt. Pepper falling into With a Little Help from My Friend. But this is still a good album opener in its own right. I like the acoustic nature of the song, almost country-like, which is pretty cool. I also really like Paul and John's vocals on the song, and they harmonize off each other so well. it does feel reminiscent of some of the earlier Beatles songs. Like the way they sing together on this song kind of reminded me of "If I Fell" from A Hard Day's Night, where they wanted to channel kind of like an Everly Brothers type sound. And it's cool hearing that again on this song, especially on their last album. This one didn't quite make my top five. I think there's way better songs on this album. Not a knock against this song because I still really like it. But yeah, still a really cool way to open this album. And that leads us into our next song. Probably one of the weirdest titles on the album, Dig a Pony.
Weird title, but very good song. I don't think this will make my top five. However, I still enjoyed it immensely. The and I love that part. The guitars on here were just a lot of fun to listen to. It's probably won't make my five, but I still greatly enjoyed it.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the song. I think this is one of the weaker songs on the album. I don't know why. Just the way John sings on it, and I just think this is one of their weaker songs, in my opinion. It's not like that bad, but this is usually a song that I usually skip to the next one, which we'll get to the next one. You know, to me, I think it's a much better song. But yeah, this is like one of their kind of a middle of the road type song for me, like kind of a song that they would just throw in the White Album because they're just throwing any song on the album kind of thing. So me personally, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I really like the song. It's another really cool deep cut. I mean, no one's like you said, it's a weird title. What does that mean? I dig a pony. I don't get it myself. Why is there so many ponies? Then we just talked about a horse on the last song. Doris gets her oats, and now I don't know. It's a weird. Why are we talking about ponies?
Ringo needed his animal song on there, and they did Octopi last time, so it was like he saw
Now
a
we got-
horse on the way to the studio. It was like,
ponies.
that's it.
Hey, you know, that Ringo bloke did that Octopus song. Why can't I sing about the pony?
The pony song. Yeah, but it's a really cool song. I really enjoy it. It's on my top five, but it's pretty close. It'd be pretty close to my top five. Like as you said, the guitar playing is so good though, and they do that. All I want is you, do 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 do, something to, because bam, 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 bam. Oh, I love it. Love the guitar playing. Love their voices. Still sound really great together. It's overall, yeah, a really nice melody and everything. It's just one of these like songs that are just like no one talks about, or it's not gonna be a song that's gonna be on anybody's playlist, but it's darn good.
I actually like this song. I like it. It's not going to be in my top five, but it's fun. Yes, everyone has mentioned the title is kind of odd. I dig a pony. It's like, what does that mean? I have no idea, but I guess it's kind of in the vein of I Am the Walrus, where it's like, you don't have to understand what it means. It's just a bunch of words that sound cool. And of course, I wonder if this is the song that they were rehearsing whenever we got that line from the first song, where they changed it to "I dig a pygmy," just to be funny. It's like where Doris gets her oats. And so I'm like, that line may make more sense in front of this song. But this particular performance was taken from the rooftop concert, so maybe that's why. Instead, we get some sounds of them about to start, and Ringo tells them to stop so he can snuff out his cigarette. And yeah, that's actually what happens. If you listen, you can hear him go, "Hold it," and sniff a little bit. But I like the beginning of
actually-
Yep.
You can actually hear him blow his nose. Did any of you
can.
catch that?
Yep. He snuffs out his cigarette and blows his nose.
I had to rewind it back to hear it. I'm like, did I just hear that right? I'm like, that is so gross. Like,
if you listen very
why did you
carefully
include
to
that?
if you listen very carefully to the end of A Day in the Life, they kept turning the volume up, and Ringo like accidentally took a step or something, and you can hear his shoe. But
Wow.
yep, you're gonna have to check that out later.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the bound. Yeah, and a lot of the lyrics are pretty nonsensical. Although I'm kind of convinced that one of the lines is a little shot at the Rolling Stones, because one of the lines is, "I dig a stone," or was it, "I roll a stony"? Well, you can imitate anyone you know.
Yeah.
And knowing that the Rolling Stones did a lot of blues cover songs, I don't know if Lennon was trying to make a diss at like that Mick Jagger just like to imitate other artists. I'm not sure, but that it kind of seems like that's what they were doing there. Of course, it was all in fun because Brian Jones plays on another song we're going to talk about later. Um, but yeah, this is a fun song, and I think it's cool that they played this on the roof. So if you got to hear this song live, then you got to see the Beatles' last performance.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I think the first time I ever heard this song was when I saw the rooftop concert in the. Well, actually, I saw the Get Back series first on Disney Plus. Probably the 10-hour docu-series Peter Jackson worked on before the Let It Be thing came out. So I've seen it twice. But yeah, Dig a Pony. This song is fine. It's not my favorite on the album. I love the guitar work on it. John Lennon sings pretty good on it. I like the dig a pony. But I think the song kind of meanders, I guess, a little bit. I don't think it stands out to me compared to the other songs on the album. I don't think it's awful by any means, but it's not one of my favorites. All right. Speaking of John, we're 2 for 2. Next up is Across the Universe.
Someone heard this song and like, yeah, I can make a musical movie off of that. But this one's in my top 5. I really like this song more than I was expecting, and I could not remember the last time I had heard this. I could have sworn it's been a minute since I've seen Across the Universe. I do not remember much about it. I remember liking it, but I could change. But that's a story for another time. Very good song. I enjoy it immensely. This one is in my top 5. It's very dreamlike, and I like the spirit of that.
Yeah, this is one of the best songs on the album for me. This has always been one of my favorite songs on the album. It's like soothing, very, very soothing, and such a beautiful song. The orchestration just makes it that much better. It's just a really nice song. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. I'm like 99.9% sure it's just John Lennon singing. I don't think there's any harmonies in it, so it's like it's kind of like just John, kind of. I mean, musically it wasn't just John, but so vocally it was just John Lennon, and it worked really well. This has always been one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, I agree. This is another huge highlight on the album. Yeah, it's a great song. One of my favorite from John. They put this out as a single, and it's slightly different, I think. That came out, and they put it on some kind of like, I forget, some kind of charity album or something. I don't know. They put out some kind of single.
I think it was some kind of like eco,
environmental
something.
Yeah,
fittingly called "Nothing's Gonna Change Our World."
Yeah, that's right. It was something like that. So the single came out first, I think, and then this came out. Yeah, and Spectre put some stuff in it, I believe. Yeah, as you mentioned. But I just love that acoustic guitar at the beginning. That bum 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 bum, and it gets right into that main kind of melody. I love it. Love how it begins, and yeah, John. Yeah, it's really just a John song. You're right. It feels like it's a John solo, which it's pretty common at this point where everybody seems to get their solo stuff. I mean, we'll see Paul get a couple, and George will get some too, where it's just them. It feels like just singing their own song, and yeah, it's not nonsensical. Like if you look at the lyrics, like I don't know what the song is, but it is a beautiful acoustic song from John, and yeah, I love that he starts throwing in like gibberish words. towards the end or something. I don't know. But it all works so well. I love it.
This is a fantastic song. As Jason mentioned, they had already released this on some kind of world compilation album. Although, you can actually listen to the original version of this song on the Past Masters album, and it is very inferior to the Phil Spector version. For one, they sped the track up, and two, there's some backing vocals that are kind of annoying on that version. So I most definitely prefer the Phil Spector version here on this one, especially with the orchestrations. The lyrics are very poetic. Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither as they wild away across the universe. That's a great opening line. There's another one. It's like pools of sorrow, waves of joy are ringing through my open. And when he says ringing, it's like onomatopoeia. It's like ringing, like it sounds like a ring, ringing through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Nothing's gonna change my world. Really great song. And then you got like the choir that comes in. George Harrison providing some wah wah guitar, even though on his next All Things Must Pass album he says I don't need no wah wah. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's a fantastic song, and it's one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, this one was a blind spot when I listened to this album, and this is one of my favorites. This one made my top 5. I love the acoustic production on it, John Lennon's vocals, the beautiful lyrics. I think it's a very well crafted love song. He was still doing a lot of great writing around this time, and I love Phil Spector's additions on this song as well. Yeah, this is the one where you really get to hear the wall of sound come to shine. There's about 3 songs in this album where you really get to hear it, and this is one of them where I'm like, yes, I love what Phil brought to this track. All right, next up we get our first George Harrison track. That is I Me Mine.
This barely missed the top 5. If I were to do like a 6 or 7, it would easily be on there. This song is just a groove, and like I love how like rough it sounds sometimes. I'm really bad at articulating this stuff sometimes, but I hope I'm making some sense. But I love the style of this one. There are just songs I just like more than this one, if that makes any sense. I still really like it though.
Yeah, it's an interesting song. It's like a song of two halves, because there's like the part where he's like, oh, through the day, I me mine, I me mine, I me mine. Oh, boom, 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 I me mine, I me mine, I me mine. And then there's the part where it's like, I me mine, I me mine. It does the slower part 3 times and the faster part 2 times. It's like it's a very basic sounding song, but it's a really good song at the same time. It's like a song that's so simple shouldn't be this good, but it is this good because it's the Beatles and it's George Harrison and they make it work. So this is definitely one of the best songs on the album for me. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny. This is a song that I was never really a huge fan of growing up. And then the last couple of years, it's really grown on me to where I really like the song now. Like, I didn't used to like it. Now I'm like, yeah, this is a really cool song. And maybe because it's kind of more of a deep cut. It's more of a song that people don't talk about enough, or I don't listen to as much. And then when I hear it, I go, oh, this is actually a pretty good song. I just don't listen to it enough. And it's interesting, I think, on the Get Back session, whatever the documentary series, um, he talks about like he has a conversation with the Beatles about he was watching some show or something like the night before, and there was a waltz in the show or something like that, and this waltz kind of gave him this idea to write a song with kind of a waltz kind of feel to it, I guess, or time signature or whatever. And so that's kind of where you got the idea for this kind of, because it is an interesting song, just the way it's structured, I guess, or all that. And then of course, I mean, mine. I think it deals with like his religious beliefs as a Hindu is, to be selfless. I think maybe and not be selfish. And so he writes a song all about kind of the ego of being totally selfish. Everything is I, me, mine. So it's kind of a cool idea overall. Yeah, I really like the all through the days, I me mine, I me mine. And then he gets into that fast part, I me mine, and he gets like rocking. Really cool how he goes through the slow and the fast on there. So yeah, it's not my top 5, but it's still a really good song.
Beatles trivia. This was the last Beatles song to be completed. Paul, Ringo, and George went in the studio and did some overdubs to this after Abbey Road. Lennon had already checked out, so I don't think there's any contributions from him on this song. Even if you watch the movie, he's waltzing with Yoko while the others are playing the song. But lyrically, this song is pretty much where the Beatles were at this time. They were all, they were all looking after themselves. It was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I, me, mine. That's pretty much what was going on in the band at the time. So I can only imagine that he had a few people in mind whenever he wrote this song. But I love how it switches up, that the beginning is in like the 3/4 waltz sound. Boom, dun 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 dun. I me mine, I me mine, I me mine, all through the night. And then you get the the more rocking part. I me mine. Phil Spector actually increased the length of the song. The song was only half as long as it was, but he actually repeated the verse one more time to make the song a little bit longer. And I think that was a really smart move. It really makes the song having the repeat of the first verse. And then, of course, doing his overdubs with the orchestra. I think this is one of the most underrated songs on this album, and really one of the most underrated George Harrison songs. I've always loved this song. It's really great.
Yeah, I don't remember this song when watching the documentary, but I think when I did I did a contest on my channel a while back, and Adam submitted it. I think it was like the soundtrack to your life or whatever, and he put this song on his little soundtrack thing, and that was where I really paid attention to this song for the first time. And yeah, it's a pretty good song. This one didn't quite make the top 5. I do like the kind of like the tongue in cheekness in the lyrics, kind of poking fun of the egos that a lot of people go through, the selfishness of man. I don't think it's a song you're supposed to take seriously. It just kind of like make fun of how ridiculous like the whole notion of being selfish is. I think it is a well crafted song, even in its simplicity. I do like the 2 tempos that are present in the song, especially the more rocking stuff. That's where the song is really fun. And it's another one where like you can feel Phil Spector's additions on the song, and it makes the song even better. So I don't have a problem. Like I'm not gonna like as flawed as Phil Spector was on a personal level. Like when he cooks in the music room, he did some great stuff, and especially on this album. Like I don't get the Phil Spector hate on the stuff that he added on this album. You can see why he's considered a producing genius on stuff like this song and another one we'll get to on the second half of the album. This one's still pretty good. There's a lot of great stuff on here. It's just which songs do I like more. I'm curious what we're all going to say about this next track at only 50 seconds long. Let's all dig it. Do we dig it?
I don't know about y'all, but I did not. This felt like barely a song. It just felt like the Imaginarium of John Lennon for like 50 seconds. I would just like, he sounded like he was just stringing together stuff while secretly like, Yoko and I spent like a week on a bed. Maybe we can tie ourselves to some railroad tracks. That'll really get him going. But I don't. It sounds like he just could not have been asked. So, not a fan.
Gonna keep the review very very quick. It's just there, comes in, and then comes out. That's all.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't need to be on the album, but I think Spectre, whoever put this on the album, again, I'm going for that live feel, I guess, and live studio feel, I guess, is what Scott said, and John just kind of improvising all these shout outs, I guess. It's kind of funny, all the random shout outs are like, where did he come up with that idea? Shouting this person out or that, whatever. Yeah, luckily it's not very long, so I don't think much about it. It's just that it's there. It's over quickly.
This is not a song. It is not a song. It's a
Then
track.
why is it on the album then?
It is there. It's a transition to get you from whatever the last song was, "I Me Mine," to "Let It Be." It's just a few seconds of them jamming in the studio, to get that feel like you're with the band. And it's funny because this was actually a jam session on the Bob Dylan song, you guessed it, Like a Rolling Stone. But then later on in this, after they played the whole song, they just started getting carried away, and John Lennon just started name checking famous people and just going, dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it. And then I love the end where it's just like, that was Can You Dig It by Georgie Wood. And I'm like, it's funny, all right? This song always makes me laugh, especially when he says, like, the FBI and the CIA, B.B. King and Doris Day. I don't know. It's fun, okay? This is not. I don't put this into account when I'm ranking this album. It's like, oh, my favorite song on this album is obviously "Dig It." No, like I don't know why I sounded kind of like Kurt Cobain there. I'm just doing a Nirvana series, I guess. But
negative too much.
It's there for fun. It gets you from one song to the next. It puts you in the mood of being in the studio with the Beatles. I'm not going to take points off the album just because there was a few seconds that supposed to, continue on with the theme of the album, being in the studio with the Beatles. I'm going to say next, and we're going to get to a very good song.
Yeah, this is definitely not a song. I get where you're coming from, Scott. I guess the intention of it, but at the same time, I'm in full agreement with Ryan. Like, why is this on the album? I guess if you like the novelty of it, I guess I can see why this would appeal to you, but I don't know. I just thought the randomness was too obnoxious, especially when he's like, oh, me, at the very end. I'm like, I'd rather listen to Wild Honey Pie over this. At least that song was ambitious and how weird and stupid it was.
Back to Wild
And
Honey.
nonsensical. I'd rather listen to Wild Honey Pie over this. This one is just nothing.
Neither of those
I got
are a real
nothing
song.
out of this track.
You had me until you said Wild Honey Pie.
Yeah,
I'd
Neither
rather
of
hear-
those are real songs.
Wild
Correct.
Honey Pie is so bad it's hilarious. This one was just there.
I take this much more than honey pie, honey pie, honey pie.
All right, well, I think we'll all agree that the next song is a Beatles masterpiece, and that's the title track. Let It Be.
So I struggle to find the words for how beautiful this song is. So I'll just highlight my favorite part of the song. It's at the halfway point of the song where it's like there will be an answer, let it be, and then it goes dun 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 dun. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is Billy Preston, who then hits the organ with the dun 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 dun, 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 and then the guitar hits. Goosebumps every time. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter if I'm in the car or if I'm running or if I'm listening to it just like on the beach. It's goosebumps automatic every single time. So I don't know if this is my favorite song on this album because we've got some heavyweights coming up, but this is easy top 5, top 2 for me for this album. Maybe one of my favorite Beatles songs ever, period. I really need to think about my favorites, but this is easily in the conversation.
Are we gonna have to make a top 10 Beatles songs? Because I don't know if I can do it.
I know it's going to be tricky, but I'm just...
I know my number 1 and number 2 and maybe my number 3, but everything else is like, yeah, that'll be a 27-way tie between this, and this.
Well,
30
maybe
white
after we do our album ranking, since I know ranking the song is going to be tricky, let's just leave it to favorite Beatles song and move on.
Yeah,
I know me.
probably for the best.
I'll say me and Jason will probably do top 10 Beatles songs on my channel.
Well, I already done a top 10 on my channel, so
I mean, if you're gonna do it, I'll do it, but it ain't gonna be easy.
Because I do want to get a top 10 Beatles songs in on someone's channel. So if it's not Jacob's channel, I'll probably do it on my channel with someone else. And I know Jason likes talking about the Beatles, so I know Jason's in on it.
I already got my list, so it'd be easy. So.
I mean, it could be like an annual 1-year anniversary. Jason probably wouldn't mind. Like,
It'll be an easy stream for Mr. Old Millennial.
pretty much.
I don't know. It's like some of these artists I really like. It's like George Strait. It's like Elvis and Queen and so many other Johnny Cash. It's like these people have so many good songs. How can you divide like 10 songs and make them your absolute favorite?
I'm gonna be leaving out a lot of songs that I really like.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them.
Well, Let It Be. I mean, what's there to say about this song?
I know.
It's a masterpiece. And just like yesterday, it came from a dream. Like,
Oh, he's so good at dreaming. Gosh.
exactly. Like, whenever I dream, something good happens for me.
This guy can literally write songs in his sleep. The one time I had a dream and heard a song, well, no, there was 2, but one of them actually was something good. But the other time I had a dream and there was a song in it, I woke up and realized that it was a song that had already been written.
Yeah, right.
I do have a piano, but I don't know how to play it, so I won't be able to do a music lesson like Scott did. But very, very good song. I don't really have much more to add. It's just one of those songs where it just speaks for itself. I know Scott likes to say a lot, so I'll leave Scott with the realms. Scott and Jason, I should say.
Yeah. Obviously this is one of the greatest songs of all time. I'll even say right now, it's my second favorite Beatles song of all time. It's pretty high up there. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. And there's something just, I don't know, very emotional about the song because, as you know, Mother Mary refers to his mother, was named Mary, and his mom died of like cancer, I think, when he was pretty young, him and his brother. And of course, that was the saddest moment of his life. And he talks about quite a bit even today of that moment, how Let It Be, kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, but he had a dream about his mom, telling him to let it be. And yeah, it comes up with, again, like I said, it comes up with one of the greatest songs of all time, just like yesterday. But something really beautiful about that. Getting the dream about his mom who's been dead for a little bit and getting this idea for a song and just, oh my gosh. And I think a lot of people, this is such an emotional song for them because of that. And that's why it's so great. And it's just so lyrically, just speaking words of wisdom, let it be. I don't know, something about it that's so good. It fits so well for like, you can hear like a more gospel type version of the song, and it works so well as a kind of a gospel song as well. It's just the way he writes it. And like I said, Billy Preston is like the unsung hero of this album. He is so good when he comes in. I love, Billy Preston's what he brought to the table on a lot of this album. And yeah, now I'm with you. I think the greatest part is just that piano is so good. That dun dun dun, that whole part. Every time I hear it, it's just pure bliss, I guess, for me. So.
How am I even going to start talking about Let It Be? I could make a whole video talking about just this. I could probably make a whole video talking about just the piano intro to this song. So I'm going to have to condense what I want to say by a lot. This is one of the greatest songs of all time. It really is. You start out with the piano, played by Paul. Really setting the mood there. And it's interesting because the chord progression that's used in this song is the most commonly used chord progression of all time. If you listen to the radio, you're going to hear a million songs that have this exact same chord progression. You can swap out the melodies and it'll be the same. There's lots of videos about that. You can look up videos of people playing the same chord progression and singing different songs over it. And Let It Be is one of them. Oddly enough, this is the only time the Beatles ever used that progression in all of their big hits. So, interestingly enough. But then when you consider the backstory, that Paul McCartney was kind of upset. He had the dream that his mother told him, like, everything will be okay, let it be. And then later he met Linda. Like, this song is you can tell this song is very personal to him. It almost starts quietly with just the piano, and then it keeps building. Ringo comes in with the drums. And then we talked about Billy Preston whenever he comes in with the organ. Such a grand moment in the song. There's like some orchestra in there too. And then right after it goes to that bow, down, 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 down. It's such a big build up. And there's two versions of this song.
Yeah.
There's the single version, there's the album version. And growing up, I had the Blue album, so I had only heard the single version for the longest time. And every time I got to that part, I'm like, this is such a cool build-up, but then it builds up to this guitar solo that I thought was wimpy. I'm like, George, you're better than that. I wasn't expecting some really big, epic guitar solo from George Harrison. I heard that with this really watery, guitar. I would expect that kind of guitar solo to be on something like Octopus's Garden because it sounds like it's underwater. Like that would have fit well for that. But this is Let It Be we're talking. This is the big buildup, and we're gonna get this, this watery, warbly sound, and the solo's not really that memorable. I'm like, George, what? So for the longest time, I'm like, this is a great song, but the guitar solo was a letdown. And one day I'm in the car and Let It Be is on the radio. I'm like, oh, it's Let It Be. I love this song, and it's getting to the part. It's like. Boom! And it's like, oh yeah, here's the build-up that the guitar solo is gonna suck, and it's the album version on the radio, and that big heavy sound, it comes in. I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted. I'm turning Jerry Seinfeld that time, but this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm like,
yeah,
this one is memorable. Like this, you can sing every note of this guitar solo, super memorable. Works over the chord changes perfectly. Huge guitar tone on this one. It's a lot heavier. I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm like, what? I was like, what kind of alternate version of Let It Be is this? Because this is not what I've been hearing on my CD. Of course, later I found out it was on the Let It Be album. And like, this is the one I want to hear. I don't want to hear no watery, warbly guitar solo. I want to hear the the strong one, the powerful one. It's the one that's got some oomph to it. But I love the guitar solo to this song. It's great. And then you get that last verse where it kind of cuts out a little bit, other than Ringo's drums that just kind of keep going. It's a fantastic song. I can't really say much more without beating a dead horse. This song is just amazing, and you have to listen to it.
I mean,
Scott's
what else is there to be
basically
said?
saying, what's the deal with them cutting that solo? Like, it was a perfectly good
What's
solo. Why
the
did it
deal
get cut?
with the guitar solo? Don't you hate it whenever you got this great big build up and all of a sudden you got to some warbly guitar? Oh, speaking of which, that reminds me of something. If you listen very carefully, there's a third guitar solo. George Harrison did several different takes, and the very first take he did of the guitar solo, you can still hear it very faintly if you listen on the single version and the album version. If you listen to the Let It Be Naked version, that's the guitar solo that he does on the Let It Be Naked version. But they erased it so he could redo the solo. But if you listen very carefully, you can faintly hear it. It's like a ghost guitar solo behind the other one, because it must have like imprinted on the tape and they couldn't totally get rid of it, which is a strange anomaly in the song. But I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting trivia because I've always heard the more intensified guitar solo growing up, even on the radio. So that's crazy that there's like two versions of Let It Be. Who knew? But yeah, what else is there needs to be said? This is one of the most epic Beatles songs out there. Definitely rings in a lot of emotions. I didn't know the backstory, honestly, until Jason mentioned it tonight. I'm like, that's really cool because I always wondered what Mother Mary was. I'm like, oh, that's his mom. That makes sense.
I always, that plus the organ, thought it was like some kind of Catholic song.
I mean, it could have been. Like, I've heard people say that it's about the Virgin Mary, but I'm like, I can't relate to that. I'm not Catholic, but
it's about his mom.
I like, it being about his mom makes more sense. But yeah, I think this is a great Beatles song. I love especially the piano part and the organ that comes in. I'm watching the Let It Be documentary, seeing the stuff with Billy Preston helping on some of these songs. Yeah, he's like the secret sauce. He and Phil Spector are like the secret sauce on this album. Billy Preston does a really awesome solo on a song later on in this album that I want to highlight as well. But it's great hearing that organ on it, which really helps. Probably some of Paul's best vocals on the album because coming from experience. Definitely one I love singing along to. It's one of my favorites on the album. It's in my top two. This and another song are fighting for my favorite song on this album. All right, now you think that would be the closer of side one, but we have one more song that closes out side one, and let's see what. Wake up, Maggie. There's something I'm trying to say to you. Oh, this is not the Rod Stewart song.
Don't do Rod like that. Don't do Rod like that.
This is not
Jacob,
the Rod Stewart song.
Shame on you for mixing that great song with this crap.
You disrespected Rod like that.
It's not the Rod Stewart song. Oh man! But the Beatles did a Maggie May.
And this thing stinks. Like the biggest problem with this song is that it just stops. It's like they were in the midst of something, and then like someone opened the recording door and be like, "Hey, you want to shut that?" And then you're like, "Okay, we're gonna cut this out. We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna finish it." And they never finish it. And what's even worse is that it's not even on the finished album. They let off one of the mystery tracks, which I don't want to spoil right now, but they left off one of the songs from that and put this on. Who hit their head on the way to the studio to be like, yeah, it feels like in the first Frankenstein movie where Igor swaps the regular brain with the abnormal brain. I'm just like,
Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder. Whose brain did you take, Igor? Abby something. Abby who? Abby Normal. I think that was it. Abby Normal.
So I don't mean to sound like super harsh, but this is barely a song. Like, hard pass.
Ditto on my Dig It review. That's it.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, Maggie May is actually like an old folk tune that they kind of took and they were just like jamming. It was just kind of, again, silly kind of jamming that as Scott said, they did this kind of stuff in the studio all the time, just jam into this Maggie May, this old folk tune that they kind of knew, I guess, and put together. Funny thing, in Pirates of the Caribbean, the third one, I believe is the third one. Maybe it's no, it might be the fourth one. I can't remember. Paul
What, is
McCartney.
that the one that Paul McCartney cameoed in?
Paul McCartney comes
That,
up in
that was the fifth one.
the fifth one. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's
Fifth,
5 of them.
Keith Richards is his dad.
Keith
Yeah,
Richards in the
Keith Richards is the one that's in the third one.
third one. Keith Richards.
Paul McCartney's his uncle.
Yeah, but Paul McCartney shows up in one cameo scene dressed as like a pirate. Like I think they're in a prison or something. I don't know. But anyways, he sings Maggie May while he's in the prison, which is really funny. Paul McCartney's a pirate singing Maggie May. It really fits. Anyways, but yeah, I don't have. There's not much more to say. It's just a silly song that again they threw in there to give it an atmosphere.
Again, it's not a song, it's a track. But it's very mind-boggling how they chose this to end the first side of the record instead of Let It Be. Like at least put this on the first side of the second album, or the first song on the second side, will you? Don't ruin the joy that we just got from Let It Be with 30 seconds of silliness or whatever. It's not hurting the score of my album, but that's always boggled me. Between that and the Curious Missing other song that we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's just like it's a folk song. They sing half of it, and there's this funny backing vocals are like ah. They're like purposefully hamming up their accents on this song. It was like she never walked down Line Street anymore. Like purposefully like exaggerating their vowels and stuff like that to sound more British. And it's funny, but like it's just there for the vibe. If I'm gonna make my my best Beatles songs playlist, this ain't going anywhere near that. It's just again, it's there to get you from Let It Be to I've Got a Feeling.
You know what? I can see a great folk song out of Maggie May. From what we got, I'm like, it was looking up to be a great song. And my main problem with this song, it's like as soon as the song was really getting good, it stops. And I'm like, well, why is this on the album? This is pretty much an incomplete song. And I do have an issue with that, especially when they cut out a really amazing song at the highlight at the rooftop concert for this. And that does hurt my score. This song is not good. This is the most frustrating aspect of this whole album is Maggie May, because this could have been a great song. Well, now we flip the record. We go from side 1 to side 2. Next up we got is I Got a Feeling that the night's gonna be a good night. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong song. That's the Black Eyed Peas. Let's go. Let's get back to the Beatles.
How does it go? I got a feeling.
No, that's Hooked on a Feeling.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was an unexpectedly great one. I don't know if I must have heard it before, but I just didn't have any memories of it until I re-listened to it, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really great. And they're doing like the oh yeahs to each other, and that's fun. So I think this is one of the more underrated on this entire album, if we're gonna do criteria for that.
All right. Finally back into real song territory again. Nice. What do I have to say? This is a really good song. I mean, there's like different, it's like 2 or 3 different songs in one, kind of. And yeah, this is a really, really good song. First off, the I Got a Feeling song. I got a feeling deep inside. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Never gets old. They got the John Lennon part. Everybody got a boom boom. One of them's like, everybody got a wet dream. I'm like,
Yeah,
huh?
something like that. Yeah.
And as a kid listening to this album, I didn't know what a wet dream was. I'm like, looking back, I'm like, wet dream? What? It's like, all right, John. But besides that, what a terrific song. This is one of their, I think, I'm not sure if this is a hit song or not for them, or if this like, but it sounds, I've heard the song so much that I see it as like a greatest hit song, but maybe this is like a deep cut that I've heard so much that I see it as that. But I'll refer to Jason because he knows more about what's a deep cut and what's not. But I've listened to this song as a kid so much.
My feeling is it's a deep cut. I don't know if Scott would agree with that. Or,
I'm gonna say it's the bloody Beatles, man. They're all hits.
yeah, I don't recall it being like a hit song necessarily, but yeah, to me it's always been a deep cut kind of song. But another really great deep cut on this album, full of great deep cuts. To be honest, I mean, I guess you say "Let It Be" and "Cross the Universe" were hit songs, and "Get Back," and I think even "Long Running Road" was a single, so those may be more the hits. But I might be wrong. But this definitely became a really big song for them on the album. I mean, it's one of the rooftop concert songs, so it's like one of the main songs that they worked on in the documentary series, either the "Let It Be" or the "Get Back." You hear them rehearsing this song quite a bit. So I guess I'm sure Paul was thinking this was like a big hit song maybe when he was rehearsing it, because he rehearsed it quite a bit, I think. The song, yeah, it's great. I say about the song is the one of the funniest moments I think in the documentary. I want to say I don't know if it's the "Get Back" series or "Let Be." He's like presenting them this song, like, here's the song. Let's work on the song. And I don't think he tells them what the name of the song is. They just go into it, and he's singing this. I've got a feeling, bum 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 bum. I've got a feeling. And he keeps singing, I've got a feeling. And then when the song finishes, I think Ringo says, "Is the song called I've Got a Feeling?" It's one of the funniest moments. It's like, yeah, pretty on the nose.
I think John kept calling it "I've Got a Fever" just to mess with him.
Yeah, he sings it enough. It's definitely the name of the song. I've got a feeling. But yeah, it's the guy, and I think Nick was saying it's got a lot of fun in it. The oh yeah, and the some little improvising there, I think, and they're kind of having some fun with it. I think the very best part of the song is just that that just that guitar that kind of intros in. Oh my gosh, it's so good. The build up of those guitars together, and watching them do it live or whatever, watching them do it in the studio, it's really cool to see them how they did that. Such a cool sound, anyways. That builds up to that. Yeah, I've got a feeling, and yeah, great vocals from Paul. I mean, he really sung the heck out of it. But yeah, to me, yeah, one of the great deep cuts on this album for me.
Fantastic song. I remember the very first time I listened to the "Let It Be" album, getting to this song and being like, "See, this is why you listen to the album, so that you can find amazing songs like this." Because I'd never heard this before. It's two songs. It's kind of like A Day in the Life, where John had a song and Paul had a song, and they're like, you know what, let's just put them together and we'll make one really good song. And it works so well. Especially, my favorite part is at the end, where like each of them they're both singing their part, but it works at the same time. It's like, how did they do that? They have these two songs, they mash them together, and you can sing them both at the same time. That's really cool. And yes, as Jason said, this is one of the songs that they played in their rooftop concert, and it's one of my favorite parts of the movie in Let It Be, because while they're playing this song, you go down to the streets and they have these people interviewing all these people, talking about like, what do you think of the Beatles? Like, do you think they should be? Is it disrupting your business, or like, are you excited to get they're performing again? And it's so cool because they interview all these people, and they interview like some old people, and the old people are like, "Oh yes, I love the Beatles." Like a lot of them are like, "Yeah, I love the Beatles. Is this their new record? I like to buy." I'm like, when you think of it, you think the old people are like, turn
Yeah.
turn that rock and roll
Yeah.
noise off. They're disrupting our business. There's like a few. Like there's this one old lady who's like, never cared for the Beatles. They're disrupting. I think there's like this one old lady who's like, I've never cared for the Beatles. And there's this one person who's like, this music is good. It has a time and a place, but it is definitely disrupting our business at the moment. But then you have like, obviously the teenagers who are like, this is the Beatles. I can't believe we're seeing the Beatles. But then like, I was just surprised that there was a lot of older people who were like, I really like the Beatles. I'm excited to buy the record when it comes out.
Yeah.
And so like every time I listen to this song, it kind of just makes me think of that scene where they're playing it on the roof, and all the people down there are just like looking up, like, is that actually them? Like, this is new. These are new songs. Like those were new songs. Those people were the first people to hear "I've Got a Feeling." Well, other than the sound engineers, and the camera people. But like when they played that, these were the first people to hear "I've Got a Feeling," and they captured that on film there for the movie. It's so cool.
Yeah, the first time I heard this was when I saw the Let It Be
Okay.
Get Back stuff. When I got to the rooftop concert, which I'll say the Get Back series, as flawed as that was, I think we didn't need to see all that footage. I think it went on way too long. But it was worth it to see the rooftop concert. That rooftop concert was excellent. I think you could have made just a whole movie just on that alone. Which I think they
did.
re-edited as that. But yeah, when I first saw that, I'm like, I've never heard this song before. It's amazing. I need to add this on my playlist as soon as possible. And this is easily the best deep cut on this whole album. When you listen to the song, you don't realize that it's two songs meshed together until you do the research. But the two songs are blended so seamlessly. Paul's "I Got a Feeling" part and then John's section as well. They both blend so seamlessly that it's just a great song. I just love the improvisational creativity of the Beatles on display on this one. I love Ringo's drumming on the song. There's some great guitar work on it. I love how Paul and John sing off each other. Yeah, I've always really liked this song since I first heard it. This is in my top three. All right. Well, the Rolling Stones, on one of their best albums, had a song called Flight 505. The Beatles have One After 909.
So I like this one quite a bit. It just barely missed the boat on my 5. It's really good. I liked it. It's again, it just for me, it's the problem of like, oh, like there were just some heartbreaking like leave off ofs, or it's 11 o'clock and I'm saying leave off ofs. That makes a lot of sense. Uh, heartbreaking like exceptions, I guess. Good song, just not enough to make my 5.
Yeah, bringing out the trash can.
Oh, that bad, huh?
What?
I think this is a lousy song. I don't like this song at all. It's like generic, and I don't like the voices on here. Like the harmonies, it sounds like they're trying so hard to be like early Beatles, and to me, it just doesn't work at all. Right after 9, around, hun. I'm like, I don't know. Please don't. It's just, even though this song was written by them, it feels like a cover. It has uninspired B-side 50s deep cut to me that I just do not like at all. Ruins, I mean, for not counting the two filler songs outside of Let It Be, this song and Dig a Pony ruin an otherwise perfect album. Like, especially this song. This song will definitely be a factor in the score of this album. But yeah, do not like it. Never did. Never will. And the fact that this song was on here and not "Don't Let Me Down" will forever be a mystery to me. Fleetwood Mac reference.
Family man.
I actually totally agree with Nick on this.
Oh,
I
that's a first.
I know
Mhm.
we're in agreement on this one.
I'm like, I knew Jason agreed with me. I'm like, I know Jason's gonna have my back on this at least.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it before, but I feel
I
like
think we did.
okay, I think I probably said this before. Yeah, it's one of my least favorite Beatles songs of all time. It's a throwback song because I believe they wrote it when they were younger and never put it on an album. And then here on Let It Be, they decided to put this song they wrote when they were like teenagers on the song. Yeah, it's very just, there's nothing. It does feel like earlier, 50s song or something that they came up with before they became great songwriters. And yeah, it's just a nothing song. It's definitely my least favorite song on the album. Mostly because Diggin' and Maggie May are just really, they're short. They don't hurt me too bad. This is an actual song that's like, oh my gosh, we didn't need this song at all. So yeah, I'm with Nick. I wish they would have just not had the song on here.
I actually like this one.
I figured he probably liked it.
It's fun. This is like not my favorite song on the album by any means, but like I think it's fun, especially if you watch the rooftop concert performance of them doing it, which that is where this song was taken from. It's the rooftop performance. But if you watch it, they're having so much fun when they're playing this, and Billy Preston getting some pretty good electric piano on there too. It's just a fun song. I'm not gonna say there's anything mind-blowingly good about it, like "Let It Be" or the next song that we're gonna cover, but like it's fun.
All right, I did not expect this song to be very divisive. All right, I'm going to have to break the tie. I am in agreement with Ryan and Scott. I really like this song.
I thought you did.
Yeah, this one, I first heard it on the rooftop concert. Uh, I forgot about it, then listened to the album, and once I listened to the album, I'm like, yeah, I like this song. Yeah, it feels like a throwback to early Beatles, but I don't really see the problem with that because I think that was the intent of this album to begin with. On a lot of these songs was to have a more simple album compared to Abbey Road and Sergeant Pepper. So, like, I had fun listening to this track. It felt like the early influences of the Beatles. Like, I can honestly see like Elvis doing a good cover of this song, or this could have been like a great Elvis song before the Beatles got a hold of it.
Once.
That would have been awesome if Elvis had done this song.
Oh, he totally could have done it.
Yeah, but yeah, this it's not a top 5 song on the album, but I do love I think the funness of the song, kind of like the throwback feel on it. I think it's a great song in its own right. It's obviously better songs on the album, but I think it's a good one. Now we go to another one that I'm sure we're all going to agree is a great song. The Long and Winding Road.
So I'm not going to waste too much time, but I'll just echo what I discussed in the group chat earlier today. This song nearly makes me cry every time I listen to it. It is the most beautiful thing that the Beatles have ever done and will ever do. It's a song that it gets me emotional in a way that I can't explain or properly comprehend, but it just does. It hits me right here every single time I listen to it. And on a technical level where it's like it starts out with the lone voice and then it goes into the orchestra stuff and then just everything afterwards. I remember listening to the Beatles 1, that big Beatles greatest hits album. I'm sure everyone here knows the album I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was, I believe, the last track on that album or second to last. I hope someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I distinctly remember like wanting to go back to that specific song every single time. And so, yeah, this, like I said, it's probably the greatest, in my opinion, one of, if not the greatest Beatles song of all time. And I'll put that up against their whole catalog. I don't care. I'll die on that hill.
It is
Yeah.
both the last track on One and the Blue Album,
Yeah, just
That's
looking
why-
at the track listing because
but
I
not
have
on
the
Let It Be.
CD. It is the last song on this one compilation.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Would have been
Yep.
one of the singles that they put out, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is a beautiful song. And, well, I hate the song because it finishes. It ends. Like, it's just one of those songs where it's like, I wish it was on forever. It's so, like, it's one of those songs where, like, you listen to it and it, like, you're hypnotized with how, like, it's hypnotizing almost with the orchestration and the choir. It's like a whole thing. It sounds like if the Beatles did like a Pet Sounds type track. And yeah, this is definitely a huge highlight on the album. And the fact that how this was not the closing track and Get Back was the closing track is still beyond me, if you're asking me.
Yeah, and on the Get Back Naked, they changed the order. I don't know what the last song is on that. I wonder what it is, but I don't think it's Get Back
Checking.
on that, because you're right. This should be the last song, and Get Back should be maybe the first song. I think Get Back might be the first song on the Let It Be
I'm
Naked.
looking at the track listing on Let It Be Naked.
Let It Be
On
is
the
the last.
Winding Road is the fourth song on the album, and the album closer is Let It Be.
They close the lid.
That's an even weirder
And,
running order. What is
and Get Back opens
Yeah,
the album.
I think and Get Back opens the album, so it closes it, which is an interesting idea. And it makes sense because it's an upbeat song, so it works as an opener. But anyways, yeah, I'm total agreement. Long Winding Road is one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time. It's in my top 10 favorite Beatles songs. I always thought that was like it almost feels like it's a deep cut, almost song. Like I feel like I've heard a lot of people not liking the song because of the orchestra music and because of Phil Spector. And yeah, I've heard a lot of people say this is like one of their least favorite Beatles songs, and I'm always like, are you kidding me? Like this is one of the most beautiful songs.
To quote one of our wisest philosophers, comedian Ron White, you can't fix stupid.
You can't fix stupid, yeah. And I never understood it because I'm the exact opposite. I think the orchestra music makes the song even better and more beautiful, and adds to it because it is a beautifully kind of emotional song. As he's talking about going down this hard road, this long and winding road to get to you. There's definitely something there. Lyrically, that speaks to all of us in life. I think, yeah, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, just that. Again, just Paul just knows how to make these kind of songs so good. I always think of this and like Let It Be and Hey Jude as these Paul McCartney masterpieces that he writes on piano that just can't beat them. They're all in my top 10. But anyways, yeah, that long and winding road, dun dun dun, will lead me to your door, dun 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 dun. Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. And then at the end, when it goes into that orchestra, it's beautiful the music, and then it goes right back to Paul. Still you lead me back to that. Oh, I love how it goes back to him. It's so wonderfully done. I don't know. I can't say much more. It's just one of the most beautiful songs ever written.
Just like Let It Be, it's like, how am I supposed to talk about this song?
Yeah, musically.
So good. It's just so good. How it starts with just his voice where he goes, the long and winding road, and then the orchestra comes in, ba, 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 ba. And I love what Ringo is doing. Ringo's drumming is very restrained on this song, but it works so well. It's very chill. It's almost like a great big grand like orchestra piece. Oh, it just puts you in the mood whenever you hear it. It's just like, oh, that is just so. Oh, Yoko, why is Yoko on my TV? Never mind. I just saw Yoko over my shoulder. Like, what? I lost my train of thought after that. Anyway, the middle section. Whenever it gets to the many times I've been alone and many times I've cried. Anyway, you'll never know the many ways I've tried. And the strings are doing like a counter melody with the and then the choir comes in with the behind it. It's just like what was Phil doing whenever he was making this arrangement? Is just like, I'm gonna make the most epic backing track to this song ever. You're gonna hate it, but people are gonna love it because it's just like one of the most grand songs you'll ever hear. It's like, I wish this was the closer. As much as I Hope We Pass the Audition being the end of the Beatles' career. Yeah. Growing up, I had the Blue album, and this is the last song on the Blue album. So every time I heard this song, I always associated this song with the end of the Beatles. And I was like, if this is their last song, then that's a very fitting final song. But then I looked and I saw it was Get Back, and I'm like, oh, Get Back is the last song. I like Get Back, but it's like Long and Winding Road. It seems like a much more fitting end to the Beatles, if you ask me. But I can't complain too much. I still love this album, and this is just one of the greatest songs ever. If you've ever seen the movie Yesterday, I love the scene where the guy challenges Ed Sheeran to a songwriting contest, and Ed Sheeran just writes this dumb song about a penguin, and he's like, look what I wrote, and plays the Long and Winding Road. He like owns it.
Oh, and everybody's like, yeah, he won.
Yeah.
I have never been more delightfully confused in my life than when I was watching Yesterday.
That movie is good, but I feel like it could have been better. But that's a whole nother story I could go into.
Yeah, it's an odd duck from the director of 28 Days Later, of all things, Danny Boyle.
All right, The Long and Winding Road. This is another outstanding Beatles song, much like Let It Be. It's like, what else needs to be said about this song? This song is an amazing masterwork of a song, and much has been said about the orchestrations. Do they help the song or do they hurt it? Was Paul McCartney right that the orchestrations are a distraction? Well, I've not listened to the Naked album, but I've seen the Let It Be documentary, and in that documentary, you hear them sing The Long and Winding Road in the studio.
It's pretty much what's in the movie.
And it's pretty much the pre-Phil Spector orchestra in that movie. And, I mean, yeah, it's still a good song. But when you hear it without the orchestra, it's like something's missing. Mm. When Phil Spector added the orchestra on to the song, it's like, yeah, the Wall of Sound, the Beatles song. And I love the Wall of Sound where you just hear all these different stuff just blend in to the melody and the song, and it just makes this really epic sound. I think somebody compared this to Pet Sounds, and having just listened to that album for the first time recently, I can definitely see that comparison because Pet Sounds, I think Brian Wilson was trying to replicate what Phil Spector did, and I think the closest he got to matching that was the Pet Sounds album. This is a lovely little track. It is surprising this is not the album closer because, growing up, I agree with Scott. I feel like this is like the last big Beatles song. This is like their last big hit on the radio. And it's like, yeah, why isn't this the closing song on the album? That is a weird choice. I'll never get that. There's a couple weird choices made on this album, but that doesn't diminish the quality of the song. This is another absolutely amazing song, and this is the one where it's like, yeah, Phil Spector tweaks on this album really elevated it, especially on this song. Well, our last two songs on the album, we got a second George Harrison track. We go from I Me Mine to For You Blue. I don't think he's singing about a dog there.
No. This one was okay. I'm in the camp. I think we're all in the same camp of Long and Winding Road should have been the last song, and I agree 100%. This was fine. I don't really have a ton of thoughts on it regardless.
I really like this song. Yeah, I think this is a fun song. This is another song that I really liked as a kid. I don't know why, just the way George sings it. I mean, the two George songs in general, I've always really liked. I Me Mine and this song, but the way he sings it, because you're always lovely girl. I love you because you're love. And something. It's a fun song. Not in my top 5, but it's a fun song. It may or may not be my top 5, but if it's not, it's really darn close.
Yeah, definitely like a George Harrison solo song. It just feels like this could have been on his solo album or something. It's just him really. And I like the song. It's not one of my favorites, but overall, I actually quite enjoy the song. Mostly the guitar. I think guitar is really fun on here. I really enjoy listening to the guitar on here, and it's got a nice melody to it. Overall, it's a pretty good song.
The absolute whiplash that I get from finishing the Long and Winding Road with that epic orchestra ending,
Yeah.
and then getting The Queen Says No to Pot Smoking FBI Agents. It sounds like them like what a vibe kill. I'm like, they should have put this earlier in the album. Putting this right after the Long and Winding Road is the worst decision they could have made. Well, the second worst decision. They made the worst decision by keeping Don't Let Me Down off the album.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wow. The thing is, it's a pretty good song, but hearing it right after the Long and Winding Road is just like. And of the two George Harrison songs on this album, I definitely like I Me Mine a lot better. Like, this one I don't like as much. It's still fun, though. I've gotten all of that gripe out of my system. Now I'll say some good stuff about the song. You can definitely hear where George Harrison's solo work is going. I like the slide guitar, which oddly enough was played by John Lennon, which he even, during the slide guitar solo, George Harrison is saying stuff to make John feel better about his playing because John didn't think he was very good at slide guitar. So he goes like, Joe, Johnny, go. Elmore James got nothing on this guy. And if you don't know, Elmore James is the guy who wrote Dust My Broom. So pretty big compliment there. Especially since he was very influential to another guitar player from Fleetwood Mac. So much that he copied that riff for every song he wrote. And there's my rabbit trail. But anyway, the only other thing I don't really like about this song is that there's like this annoying in the background that I'm just like, did they really have to put that in there? Like, it adds to the vibe of the song, but it's just like hearing that it's just like, okay, we heard the Long and Winding Road, amazing. I'm almost ready to turn the album off after that because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to hear anything better than that on this album. Now, there is a great song coming up, but again, placement. Every gripe I have with this song is mainly just because of placement. If they had put it anywhere else on the album and not right after Long and Winding Road, I probably wouldn't be saying this stuff. But the absolute whiplash I just get from hearing it right after Long and Winding Road is just really odd.
Yeah, I actually really, really like this song. I love the production on it. This again has a kind of a country feel to it, which You don't really get that from George. Usually the artists that kind of dabble into the country aesthetic is, I think John Lennon did it at one time. I think Paul, you heard that on Two of Us. And then Ringo's done 2 country albums in his solo career. And he even dabbled with it on Don't Pass Me By. So it's kind of interesting hearing George do something along this vein. I actually do like it's kind of a mix of country, a little bit of blues in there as well. I think it's a fun mesh of genres, and I like the way George sings it. It's a really cool little love song. I guess my hot take is I like this song over "I Me Mine." I really, really drawn to this song. I really enjoyed the vibe of it. Wasn't enough to make my top 5. It's actually just one shy of making my top 5. I think it's a really cool song, but still a really good song on the album. I don't know if it should have been the follow up to The Long and Winding Road. I think if it was earlier on the album, it probably would be. I think it probably have to be a better response. But I still really like this track. And that leads us to the album closer, and this is another one of the big hits on the album. So much so that Peter Jackson named the docuseries after this song. It's Get Back to where you once belong.
So yeah, I don't think I can say much other than it's just phenomenal. It's one of those Beatles songs I routinely go back and listen to by itself. It took me a hilariously long time that when the line is like, Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona for some California grass. I'm like, oh, he's going to get, like, my dumb brain immediately went to like grass you would get in like a lawn. I didn't make the connection to like that kind of grass. So it took me a hilariously long time to finally figure it out. Like, oh, that's a pot joke. Oh, okay. Anyway, this song's phenomenal.
Okay. This is a good song. I liked it just fine, but it was just never one of my favorite Beatles songs, truth be told. I don't know why. There's just never been a song that I don't know, I've just been too crazy about. I mean, it's not a song that I'll skip on the album or I'll say, "Oh, this is crap, turn it off," but it's never a song that I like actively go back to. And I've always felt that way. Even when I was a little kid, I've always felt that way. It's like one of those songs where I'm like, this is nice. It's a nice song, but one, Paul McCartney's voice was never my favorite on this, and 2, this is not album closer worthy. Not with Let It Be and Long and Winding Road being right there. So it's not gonna affect it too badly, but having this be the last song on the album is gonna affect my score a little bit, along with the couple of other notable things. But yeah, I'm not too crazy about this being the album closer. As a song, it's good, it's fine, but 100% not album closer worthy in my opinion.
Yeah, this is one of the most well-known songs on the album. One of their bigger hits on the album, kind of known for. Yeah, to get back that documentary, one of the coolest things I've ever seen, I didn't know that happened, was they have footage of Paul just sitting there on his bass, and I think he's just kind of by himself, kind of, and it's crazy that the camera caught this. Him just strumming on the bass, which I've never seen someone strum a bass before, but evidently he can strum a bass like a guitar. And he's like just strumming on the bass, and he's just making up these words to the Get Back song. And you can see him just starting to write this song, which is so cool. It's like, wow, like I'm seeing, in my opinion, like the greatest singer-songwriter of all time writing this really cool song on the fly while, just by himself, just strumming along, just bum, 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 just coming up the tune. Oh, it's so cool. Like, wow. So he just made it up right there while they were rehearsing, and he was just, just messing around, coming up with the idea of the song, it ends up being one of the big songs on the album. Anyways, and it's such cool. You get to see it in that documentary, like the beginning of that song to how it ends. How you hear it in the end. Anyway, so cool. But yeah, I really like the song. This definitely is one of my favorite songs on the album. It's a cool rocker. It almost has a bluesy style to it that I actually kind of like. Even though I'm not a bluesy fan, this kind of works for me. Where Paul is kind of, he's kind of, it's, in fact, when I hear it, it doesn't sound like Paul singing sometimes. I think it's like he's like, you know, what's the word? He's trying to, go back to, different type of music or something, or a different singer, and I'm not thinking of the word right, but he's like almost project himself as someone else. Like it's not Paul, he's pretending to be somebody else, singing the song about JoJo going back to Arizona, going back to whatever. And it's a weird song lyrically, doesn't make any sense, but I think a lot of the bluesy sort of songs probably don't always make sense.
If you look up what the song was originally about, it was even weirder at one point.
Weird. I imagine most blues songs, like it's about the feel of the song, about the the vibe or something. And that's what this has. Because I think there's a lyric about she thought she was a woman, but she was another man or something. I don't know. There's some weird lyrics that I'm like, what is this song about? It doesn't make any sense. But it's some of Billy Preston's best work on the album. Like I love Billy Preston, what he added to the song, and when you see him on the rooftop concert, it is such a great number. One of my favorite parts on the documentary, seeing them sing the song on the rooftop, whatever. It's definitely one of the big songs that they kind of rehearsed a lot on the documentary. You kind of see them do a lot, and the end product is really good. I think it's a fun song. And John Lennon, some great guitar work from John Lennon. I love the guitar parts on here as well. It's a good rock song.
And I'm just gonna keep that off because the movie ended. But yeah, wow. I know we have a couple of bonus tracks, but like this is the end. This is the end of the Beatles.
Yeah.
And let's finish it out. Let's finish it out. Get Back. He started off with some chatter. I'm pretty sure that this was studio chatter because I don't remember them saying this before the rooftop concert. They actually did 3 different versions of this song on the rooftop, and none of them ended up being used in the album. They ended up using one of the takes that they did in the studio. But I like the kind of the chugging rhythm that and that Ringo does on the drums there on the boom 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 down. Jojo was a man who thought he was a loner, but he knew he couldn't last. And then the guitar. Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona for some California grass. The first time I ever heard this song was playing the Beatles Rock Band game. Yeah. And I remember that we had like some friends over who knew the Beatles and were like, do they have the song about JoJo? And I'm like, what's the song about JoJo? Like, hey, you gotta play this song. It's about JoJo. I'm like, who's JoJo? And then we were playing the song, just be like, oh, this song is amazing. But yeah, it's really catchy, and I love the guitar. There's 2 guitar solos on here that are pretty much the same thing, but I really like them. It's played by John Lennon, actually.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really good. And then Billy Preston gets a keyboard solo on here too. It's just like, ooh. I know the Beatles needed to break up, but if they had continued, I think Billy Preston would have joined the band.
Oh, they wanted him to.
Most definitely, if they had continued on. And if they ever did a reunion concert, I know that they'd have gotten him to play with them. Because it's not as clear in the Let It Be movie, but when you watch the Get Back documentary, they're all just goofing around in the studio, and they're all arguing with each other, and it's like they can't get anything done. And then Billy Preston comes in and like, oh, we got another musician in the room, we have to behave ourselves. And they start making progress with their songs. And so yeah, it would have been cool to see him join them in the band. But yeah, then you get the the ending where it's just like, ooh, get back. And then the one of the most famous closing lines to an album. I like to say thank you on behalf of the band and myself, and I hope we pass the audition. That's it's funny that he said that, because if you go way, way back to the beginning of the Beatles' career, they auditioned for Decca Records, and Decca Records, who they were like notoriously hard to get into, told them that rock and roll music was on the way out. That we're not, basically we'll be in touch. Basically, don't call us, we'll call you, kind of thing. I wonder if he said that despite the the people who turned him down. He was like, I hope we pass the audition this time.
Right. Or just the big.
I mean, look at what became of it, though. Because they didn't get the Decca Records deal, they went to EMI, and who's the head of EMI? George Martin, who is half the reason that the Beatles are the greatest band ever, because he lent his production skills, which are such an integral part of their music. I don't know if it had worked out that way if they were over at Decca. I heard Decca didn't have as good as studios anyway. They worked at the EMI studio, which became Abbey Road Studio. That we wouldn't even have had the Abbey Road cover if they'd have went with Decca.
Oh, you're right.
We're in the good timeline. But I bet when he said that, he was making those executives eat their words.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, look at this. We're the biggest band in the world. We just played a concert here. The police literally just shut us down. You got to feel really cool that you just played a concert on the roof in the middle of, I guess it's London, and the police just shut you down, and you have the audacity to say, I hope we pass the audition, But also that's serving as the final statement to the band that it's like, we did it. We passed the audition. This is our work. And, Paul and Ringo, they're getting old. John and George have already gone. Paul and Ringo are getting old. They're not going to be around forever. But if you want to hear the band, to quote the title of an Aerosmith album that I've heard is not very good, but Jason likes, just push play. And they'll be there for you.
All right. Yeah, Get Back. I've always liked this song. It's got some great energy to it. I didn't realize Paul McCartney was singing this song for the longest time. I think growing up, I thought this was George singing it for some reason, but I think because Paul sings differently on this song compared to others. But I love the energy of it. I love the chorus. Again, Billy Preston is just absolute beast on the keyboard, especially that one solo, like oh man, yeah, he does an excellent job on here. Yeah, I could see him being added to the band if they had continued on after this album. This is a weird song to close the album. I will admit that. I think if you had put this song in place of Where the Long and Winding Road Is and made Long and Winding Road the closer, I think that would have been a bigger statement. At the same time, I still love this song. I love singing along the chorus. Even with the weird lyrics, it's still one of their most energetic songs. I will say I have seen the Get Back docuseries, and I remember the part about the original lyrics. The original lyrics would have been more of a political bite to it, involving something
about
around
immigration.
Something about the Pakistanis or something like that. And I'm
It was
like,
about illegal immigration.
and yeah,
about.
they were talking about. I'm like, yeah, Paul was singing this. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad he changed the lyrics because I don't think the goofy tone would have matched with the lyrics of the song. I'm like, I think Paul made the smart move there. But yeah, I've always liked this one. I actually like the way it ends on the album compared to the single. The single, I'm more familiar with the single version where at the end Paul's like, "Get back, Loretta, You in your high heel shoes, which is not on the album version. I think it's on the radio version because that's what I've heard growing up. So I was kind of taken aback that it wasn't on the album. And instead, you got John saying a line that I've heard from the rooftop concert where he's like, "Oh, I want to thank you all. I hope we made it past the audition." I'm like, but you know what? That line still fits. I like the cheekiness of it. So I don't have a which ending do I prefer on Get Back? I can take it or leave it, depending on what's played. I like the song either way. Either version of the song, Get Back's in the top 5, even though I don't like it that it's the album closer, but it's still one of the best songs on the album, regardless. That's the end of not Abbey Road. I'm getting tired too. That's the end of Let It Be. But we got 2 more bonus singles that were released around this time. We're going to start with the B side first because this one, I'm curious what you guys have to say about this one. You Know My Name, Look Up the Number.
Nick, I'm going to need you to do me a favor. Can I see the can, please?
The trash can up there.
You have my exact opinion on this song. That's it. I appreciate you, Nick.
That's
Kiss
why.
the can.
That's my review on the song. I think you guys preferred that over that, whatever that's supposed to be in. What a wasted talent of Brian Jones at the end too with the sax. But yeah, this exists. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's one of the worst things the Beatles put together at the very end of their career. One of the worst B-sides probably they ever put on a. I can't believe this is on a B-side. It's just so stupid. I mean, I guess it's better than putting on. I'm glad it's not on an album. I'd hate to have to hear this on an album. Because for most part, I can just pretend this song doesn't exist and just never listen to it,
I think it technically is on an album if you have Past Masters.
I was going to say, except for if I listen to Past Masters, I have to hear the song. That's probably the only time I've ever heard the song was on Past Masters and going, what the heck is this song? It's only one lyric, right? It's the same thing over and over again, if I remember right. It's just nonsensical nonsense.
I'm wondering if I should leave my review ambiguous, like you guys, just to, if anybody's never heard this song, to save the mystery for them, or if I should go in depth on this song, even though it's not very good. I'll say this. If you ever go into an old restaurant, like a really old restaurant, and they still have a functioning jukebox that actually plays 45s, and they have the Let It Be 45, you control the entire diner because there's also a button for the B-side.
Yeah.
This is what B-sides are for. You have the hit, and then you have a throwaway song that, well, a lot of times it can be a really underrated hidden gem, but this is what a B-side is. Textbook definition. This is textbook definition of what a B-side should be. A song that was not good enough for your albums that you throw on, just so that you have another song to put on your record. And it's just them doing silly voice. I'll say this. It's John and Paul getting to have fun together one last time, but the results are not very good. It's just them doing these goofy voices. And I get that they were all big fans of Monty Python. That kind of reminds me of Monty Python. Yeah. I mean, George Harrison funded Holy Grail like half of the movie. He paid for like half the movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you want to hear them just go, you know my name. Look up the number. You know my name. Good evening. Let's hear Dennis O'Bell do his lovely dance. You know my name. Look up the number. Literally, it sounds just like that. That's literally the song.
Yeah.
You've probably heard me do that, and you're just like,
unfortunately, Scott is 100% correct.
That is the song, and then there's like these weird noises. It's like, You know my name. And then the very end, you get Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones, the talented multi-instrumentalist behind songs such as Under My Thumb, Paint It Black.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who plays all the exotic instruments on the Rolling Stones early stuff. And he's just doing a saxophone solo for just a few seconds. And then you get I think there's a burp at the end too. And it's just thank goodness this did not see the light of day on any of their albums, because if so, it would have been even worse if they had put this on the American Hey Jude album. If that was the closer for the American Hey Jude album, that would have been awful. No. Yeah, this the Beatles are my favorite band, but they are not without their flaws, and this is one of them.
Yeah, this song sucks. If Revolution 9 never existed, this would be the worst Beatles song of all time.
True.
This is the number 2 worst Beatles song for me. The sad thing is, the first part of the song, which has kind of a groove to it, I didn't mind that, even with the repeated line. But then you got 4 additional minutes after that. They keep changing genres, and they just say the same stupid line all over again in the most obnoxious ways. There's a Latin-flavored version of it, and then there's this sketch comedy version of it, and then there's this weird spoof jazz version of it. I'm like, and then every time they change it, the more annoying the song gets, especially when they do all these stupid voices and stuff. I'm like, what are we doing? And then it's already been said, Brian Jones is on this song from the Rolling Stones, and he plays the saxophone. I think what's even sadder is this was the last thing Brian Jones ever did as a musician before his tragic death. So it's what a waste. What a waste. Especially some of the amazing instrumental work he did on the Rolling Stones. It's why would you bring him on a joke song? That's essentially what the song is. It's just a big troll song. And sometimes troll songs can be funny, but 4.5 minutes? Oh, this is stupid.
Robbery, assault, and battery. Yes. You know my name. No.
Well, now we're at the last bonus song, and this is the one that's you got an album that's got Maggie May, but the one that you decide to cut out from the album is Don't Let Me Down. Bill Spector, do you have anything to say there?
Well, this song is fantastic, especially if you listen to the one from the rooftop. I heard the one for Past Masters for this, and I'm like, I like it, but there's something missing here. And then I'm like, what is it? And then sure enough, there was more reverb. There was more to it. And then it's they did more in the live version. It's gotta be. It still doesn't change the fact that this is a fantastic song, and it is.
Yeah, this is a really good song on the that should have been on the album. Yeah, this should have been on the album, especially knowing it could have been on here instead of the extremely lousy one after 909. Could have swapped those 2 songs out, and you would have had. It still wouldn't have been a 10 out of 10 for me personally, but definitely would have saved the score a little bit. And yeah, it still boggles my mind how this was left off the album, and one after 909 was on the album.
Yeah, what doesn't make sense is that they rehearsed the song quite a bit in the documentary, and they play the song on the rooftop twice. Why would you not put it on the album when you spent so much time on it in the documentary? It makes no sense. That it's not added. Yeah, I don't get it myself why they didn't add this. I really love this album, but man, you put this song on the album, it's even better. It'd be even better album. It'd be higher on my list probably of Beatles albums. Who knows? Um, it's John's best song. I mean, John is so good on this song. The guitar playing is amazing. His singing is amazing. It's such a good song, and even lyrically, I think it's great. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Beatles songs. It's not on this album. It's crazy, and I feel like John only has maybe 2 songs on this album. I feel like Dig a Pony and Cross the Universe, is that really like the only 2 major John songs? Paul McCartney kind of really dominates this album. He has like 5 pretty big songs on this album, and John's only left with like 2. Why why don't you put more John songs on here? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, but it's a great song. It would be in my top 5 for sure if it was on the album.
So I was just saying that You Know My Name is like what a B-side textbook definition is. This is what you want a B-side to be. But the fact that this was just regulated to the B-side of Get Back is so disappointing. Oh, so good. This is like the first song they wrote for this album too. And they rehearsed it so much. They did it on the rooftop and then nope, B-side. That's it. Now, I think I know maybe why they didn't put it on the album, or at least why they didn't include the rooftop version. The rooftop version is my favorite, but John Lennon messes up the lyrics. But it's so funny. He's like,
Yeah.
like she
Turned to a
do.
weird Jeff all of a sudden.
But that's what he actually does. But it's so funny when he does that. I think on Let It Be Naked they do a cut of, they use the first half of the rooftop version, and then the second half of the song they use the second rooftop version. They put them together so that they don't get the messed up words. But even with the messed up words, the first rooftop version is still my favorite version of the song because the way they hit the harmonies with the "Don't let me down," the way they do it on that one is just so powerful. And the Paul just like, "Don't let me down." Like, I feel like his background vocals are kind of toned down on the studio version, and the first rooftop version is just a lot more powerful. Even with the, I even like it with the messed up lyrics. I know that's not how the song goes, but it's funny. Thankfully now you can listen to the first rooftop version. They put the rooftop concert on streaming now, so
okay.
I can actually listen to it without having to go to a bootleg or go on YouTube. Beatles rooftop concert "Don't Let Me Down" version 1. You know, but I really wish this was on the album, be it the single version or even if they had put the rooftop version with its messed up lyrics. Like, this should have been somewhere on this album.
Again, this album has Maggie May and Dig It, 2 filler tracks, one of which feels incomplete. You put those 2 songs on there, and this one's not on there. That I will never understand. This is a fantastic song. If this was on the album, it would have been in my top 5 easily. I love this song, either the studio recording. I think the rooftop version is better. I think there's more energy to that version. But I do like the soulfulness that's in the studio version, even though the tempo is a little bit slower. I still think it's a great song regardless. You still got the great harmonies. This is probably John Lennon's best vocals in this era of the album. I think, even though I like Across the Universe and Dig a Pony, this is easily the best thing John did. And again, it's crazy. It's not on the album. This is a great song. It's crazy we're done talking about the Beatles albums because this has been a fun series, but it's been fun.
So
But now
there are 3 songs talked about that are Beatles songs, but
When we get to the anthology, we can go over Real Love, Free as a Bird, and Now and Then. No, we're not doing the anthology.
I'd say I'm not going to listen to them Now and Then, so I'll be silent in that review.
right, because you have to buy the anthology to get to the songs, and then you have to buy the Blue album, I think, the remake to get.
I got the what is it?
You got the single.
I got the single. Two of them actually. I got the big single, and I ordered the little single first, but then I saw this in the store, and I'm like, I have the chance to buy something the Beatles released in my lifetime. I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy it twice.
That's crazy.
So, anthology.
I will say I've not heard the other anthology songs, but I have heard Now and Then. I think Now and Then does feel like an end, which is really cool. It's really cool that they were able to
That's the end. For
take
sure.
a song that had never been released, use the technology to finish it, and get all the Beatles living and dead together and make a really beautiful song.
Yeah.
All right, but
Get those 3 albums, then you got the Beatles.
all right, but with that said, what is everybody's top 5 on the Let It Be album?
So for my 5, I'm going with 5, I've Got a Feeling. Number 4, Two of Us. Number 3, Get Back. Number 2, Let It Be. And number 1, Long and Winding Road.
Cool. My number 5, I Mean Mine. Number 4, I'm going to go with I Got a Feeling. Number 3, Let It Be. Number 2, Across the Universe. And number 1, The Long and Winding Road.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, it's my turn. Number 5 is Get Back. Number 4, I got Cross the Universe. Number 3, Two of Us. Number 2, The Long and Winding Road. And number 1, Let It Be.
Strong honorable mention to I've Got a Feeling. What you said, John only had 2 songs. I guess he also has half of
Maybe 2.5, I guess.
2.5. Which is weird that he has the same amount of songs as George Harrison on this album.
Right.
There it is. Really should have gotten Don't Let Me Down. Don't Let Me Down would have been my number 5 if it was on the album, but sadly it's not. Instead, I'm going to go with I May Mine at number 5. Number 4, we got Get Back. Number 3, Across the Universe. Number 2, Long and Winding Road, which really my number 2 and number 1 could be interchangeable. They're both my favorite. It's just today I happen to like Let It Be a little bit more.
All right. I got 4 honorable mentions. I Mean Mine, Two of Us, One After 909, and For You Blue. And like I said, Don't Let Me Down would have been in my top 5 if it was on the album. It would have been my number 5. And as for the top 5 on the actual album, number 5, Across the Universe. Number 4, Get Back. Number 3, I've Got a Feeling. The top 2 are very interchangeable, but I think the mood I'm in tonight, number 2, Let It Be. Number 1, The Long and Winding Road.
Oh, awesome.
So our favorite song on this album is either Let It Be or The Long and Winding Road.
Those are definitely the strongest ones.
Yeah. All right. So what are our scores for Let It Be, the album?
So I'm going to give this one a full-on 10 for the strength of the top 3, that being not in the order, but Get Back, Long and Winding Road, and Let It Be. Those 3 songs carry it for me. I can see like they're like the bad songs on here are like they're on there too, but those 3 are so strong that I can't not give it a 10. That's just me though.
For me, this isn't like Magical Mystery Tour where like the strengths outweigh the weaknesses, because with Magical Mystery Tour, it's like side 2 is like Beatles' greatest hits of 1967. So it's kind of hard not to give that one a 10, but for me, it's not like that. So for me, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 for the fact that One After 909's on it. There's 2 filler tracks on the album. I hate to use filler because filler tends to get overused in the music, but
Yeah.
when like each track is like a minute long and it serves no purpose, I'm going to call it filler for me. So 2 filler tracks. I'm not a fan of Dig a Pony. Get Back is a weak album closer, and yeah, Born After 909. Not a fan of that one. So with that said, though, the strengths though definitely elevates it to a 9 out of 10 at least. You know, if it wasn't for my top 10, it would. I mean, my top 5, it would be like a 8 or 7 out of 10. So just for the strengths, it's definitely a 9 out of 10, but it can't be a 10 out of 10 for the reasons I just said.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 album for me. This is in my top 20, I think, favorite albums of all time, if I remember right. It was pretty high up there. It's, yeah, one of my favorite albums of all time. One of my favorite Beatles albums. I think it's underrated. I think a lot of people don't put it up as high as I do. And yeah, when you got Let It Be, I think one of the greatest songs of all time. My second favorite Beatles song. And if it's one of my favorite Beatles songs, I mean, you can just say it's one of my favorite songs. It's like interchangeable because my favorite Beatles songs are my favorite songs of all time. But and then The Long and Winding Road is also in my top 10. So you got two of some of the best songs they've ever put together, or I should say Paul's put together for sure. And yeah, those songs are so good. But then so many great deep cuts. I mean, with the two of us and Across the Universe, not a deep cut, but when you got Two of Us and Across the Universe and Get Back, I mean, there's some absolutely amazing songs on here.
I had a little bit of trouble deciding what I was going to give this album. Even then, I'm still kind of debating in my head, but I think I know what I'm going to do. The strongest songs on here are like some of the greatest songs ever. That being said, there are a few songs on here that I'm like, well, tracks. Maggie May isn't a song. Then I'm just like, okay, that serves the vibe, but eh. And then I'm not too huge on For Your Blue, but again, it's just because of the placement. The whole album, I think, could use a track rearrangement. But that being said, I am coming up with my list of my top 10 albums of 1970. And this album right here is an album I listened to, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. I thought, do you like Let It Be more than American Woman? Yeah. So I'm giving Let It Be a 10 out of 10.
All right.
Just because even though I love No Sugar Tonight and No Time and American Woman and that, I feel like Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, Get Back, those are even stronger songs. So, yeah, I'm giving it a 10.
All right. As for me, like I said at the beginning, I think this is a really good album. I do think it's a slight step down from Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper. I think there's a couple of filler tracks on here. I am annoyed that Don't Let Me Down is not on this album. I think that would have helped. If Don't Let Me Down was on this album and you cut the two filler tracks out, I probably would have given this a 10 as well. But because you got that and you got some weird track arrangement issues, I can't give this a 10. But I do think it's still a really good album. I'm going to give it a 9. I think it serves as a good epilogue to the Beatles following Abbey Road. Like, I think both albums do complement each other very well, especially this one that has the Long and Winding Road on it. I've already averaged the score. For the 5 of us, it's a 9.5 out of 10, which is still really good. All right. Oh. And that's the end of our Beatles album reviews. This is wild. We went all the way from Please Please Me to Let It Be. We've had some lineup changes along the way. Ryan joined us near the end, and it was a blast to have you guys on talking about the Beatles, some of the best musicians in popular music. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the Beatles as a whole?
Okay. Do we have any thoughts?
Like any final thoughts? Like since we've finished up?
I think I gave mine when I was talking about I hope we pass the audition.
Yeah.
Overall, really good band. Still not one of like still not like a top 10 artist for me, but it was nice revisiting, like, as Briar would say, the Beatles are like an old friend to me, and it's nice to go back to that old friend and revisit some of these albums that I used to listen to a lot, like a lot when I was a kid. Some albums I listened to a lot as a kid, so um, I'm not gonna agree with Cramser and say they're overrated, but
Oh my god.
I mean, Cramser's the same guy who says he hates Apple, so
I
kind of hard to take him seriously.
And the
but-
monkeys.
and the Monkeys,
I
but
mean, I don't get the ABBA hate myself. If you don't like ABBA, you don't like ABBA. But the Beatles, like, who hates the Beatles? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
People who are just looking to have different opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely was nice to go through this. I'm really looking forward to going through the solo Beatles because to me that's when we get to the really good stuff. Because
Get to the good stuff.
I'm more of a solo Beatle guy than a together Beatle guy. More, especially Paul McCartney. I think McCartney matures more in his solo career than he is with the Beatles. Like, no, she hit the big time, or there's some questionable songs from McCartney that
When
that
my
he didn't do.
burger is in my head, many
But-
years from now.
But yeah, I'll just end it at that.
All right. Yeah, it was fun going through this series. I grew up listening to the Beatles. I think starting in my teens was really when I really started to get into the Beatles. And so it was fun going through all the albums, hearing all the deep cuts, all the songs I loved listening to growing up. And this is a fun series to go through. I have a greater appreciation for the Beatles after going through all their albums, and I'm excited to start reviewing all the solo albums. I think that's going to be fun too. I'm sure there's going to be better albums than others, but I'm excited to get into some of them.
Yeah, there's no greater joy for a Beatles fan than to see new people get into the Beatles. I mean, this was definitely the series I looked the most forward to. I feel like we talked about this a long time ago going through the series, and we had some other idea of other series that we've already gone through, I think. But I remember always thinking, gosh, I can't wait to get to the Beatles and hear Jacob's thoughts on these albums, because I've thought about these albums for such a long time, and to hear somebody else go through and see it through their eyes again for the first time is such a blast for me.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts, Ryan?
I'm happy to have joined in the last 3 albums of the series, but I was happy to be a part. And yeah, this was a ton of fun. I look forward to whatever series is next.
All right. Hopefully soon we'll do a ranking of the Beatles albums. I'm curious what our rankings on these albums are from worst to best, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you all for tuning in to the review of Let It Be. We had comments. Yeah, we had some comments I never really looked at. We got a guy named Noah commented at some point. He said such and such was his favorite song on the album, but I don't really know what that was at this point.
It was I Need Mine.
Was it I Me Mine? Okay.
Oh, okay.
We got 3D Movie Cinema. Hey guys, what's up? Happy birthday. Well, I guess technically it's my unbirthday. It would be a great panel of guys if Ryan wasn't there. And
You're lucky you were at a wedding when you wrote that.
did you guys hear about that they're making 4
Yes.
different Beatle movies with the same actors but from different perspectives, directed by Sam Mendes? I've heard about that.
And we're all gonna go watch the Ringo movie first.
Yeah, I really want Ringo's perspective.
I probably would watch the Ringo one. That would be the most interesting. Let's see. Oh, last one for me, but I don't like the Beatles, but I will let it be and let you guys dig it. Oh, man, yeah. He's always the jokester. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to the ones who commented on the live chat. If you're watching the replay, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. Join us on the next Beatles stream where we'll rank all 13 of the albums. Until then, see you all in the next one. You guys have a good night.
Have a good
Hope
night.
we all pass the audition.